Hello everyone and welcome back to Immortal Cities, Children of the Nile. So, last time we talked about the educated elite, the priests, and some of the services they provide. This time we're going to be briefly going into the worship and healthcare services. Now these get relatively complicated, but they're actually, like, the basics of them are pretty simple. So the very first thing we want to do is we actually want to go ahead and set up a shrine right here, and an apothecary as well. Now the reason why we're only doing a shrine and apothecary is because the larger facilities, the hospital, requires a larger time investment from the priests, and we're not really going to have that many. Also, unfortunately, we do not have any graduates. Our priest is working on that. He is teaching 3 students right now, as you can see. These are the young children of the nobleman. And these are actually some luxury shop owners. Like, this one is a nobleman's child. You can tell by the way they look. So there's that. So hopefully, I just have the priest set up to educate students, and you can kind of tell it. One of the things that I think is nice is you can kind of tell at a glance, based on this, what he's set up to do. See, it looks like a little classroom, so he's set up to only educate students. Excuse me. This one there is nobody in, unfortunately, but hopefully we'll get this shrine, this apothecary built fairly quickly. And once that's done, hopefully by then we'll have another graduate doing stuff. And our noblemen are still very upset. No. We actually have enough for entertainers now. Where do I want to put these guys? Right here, I think. Now, entertainers, much like shopkeepers, rely on the noblemen to pay them for food. Their healthcare is lacking as well. Uh-oh. When the noblemen are protesting poor conditions, then we have problems. If it's just a weaver, then we'll fuck that guy. I don't care about weavers. Yeah. What are their main complaints? Luxury, healthcare, worship services. More common wares. They want more common wares. And saving. So let's actually go ahead and put... They're going to be a little bit far away from their resources, but it's better than them not having... It's better than them not having things at all, because right now these guys are only at, what do they have? Linen, nothing, linen. Yeah, they only have the linen. They're not going over here to buy any of the other things, but also these guys are, I don't think we have enough common shopkeepers hanging around. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the basics of the health and worship services. So, let me pause this real quick so we can talk about it. So, basically, with the healthcare services, you just have to have a priest be available to go into the apothecary or the hospital to tend to your people. So there has to be, so that's why we need quite a few graduates and priests to tend to all these things. They'll go in there and they'll open the apothecary, and then people will come in and they'll talk to the priest and they'll get healed. Now, the healthcare isn't really that complicated. You just have to have enough priests and enough medical services to service everybody. What gets a little complicated is the worship, because so we built this shrine. See, but as you can see right here, it says not dedicated to any deity. And the way we fix that is we right-click on it, and then we're going to select one of the many gods to to dedicate this shrine to. So, since we only have one, the best thing to do is to actually dedicate this shrine to the patron of our city. And to find that out, you want to go to your administration report and mouse over the worship section, and it'll say Horus is the city's patron deity. So we want to right click on this and we want to select Horus, and it'll actually put his statue there in the center. So now this shrine is a shrine to Horus. Now, the reason why that's important is because people will want to come to, they'll get the urge to worship one of the gods. So they want to go, but ideally they would want to go to a shrine, temple, or cult temple dedicated to that god. If there is not one, then any shrine, pretty much it's any port in a storm. They'll go anywhere to worship as long as there is a shrine nearby, but they won't get as much of a benefit if it's not a shrine or temple dedicated to the god they want to worship. But I believe the patron god gives the most benefit of the, well, shit, I gotta worship somebody thing, because he is the patron of our city. The most important gods to have are Osiris, Isis, Horus, Ra, Hapi, or Hapi, I think is how you say that, comes up a lot. Really, eventually, you want to have a shrine to most of the lesser gods, and you want to have at least, at the very least, you need a temple dedicated to the patron of your city. When you click on someone, I don't know, these guys actually aren't mad about the worship service. Well, actually, let's find out who's pissed about worshiping. A lot of people are mad about not being able to worship. Let's go ahead and go to these nobles. So if we mouse over the worship thing, it'll actually tell us who they wanted to worship. So you see Osiris come up a lot for the Spring Festival. You see Hapi come up a lot for the Flood. Bast comes up for children. Horus comes up for the noblemen. I forget all of them. There's one for... Which one is the noble women? I think Isis is for noble women. It might be Hathor for noble women. There's one specifically for farmers. There's one for craftsmen. Anubis is the god of death, so they want to go to Anubis if someone in their family has died recently. Set is the god of war, so if you're fighting a lot, they want to go to Set to have him calm the fuck down and stop trying to kick your ass so much. It gets a little ridiculous. But you do want to have a lot of shrines and a lot of temple setups, which is why you need a lot of priests, so on top of all their other duties, they can make sure that your people are spiritually sated. But yeah. Oh, that's something else. So the shrines are really easy, as you saw. I just right-clicked on it, dedicated it to Horus, bam, it was done. The temples, however, the temples and the cult temples are not so easy. For one, the temples are much bigger. See, this thing is huge. The cult temple is even bigger than that. See? Now, the kicker is that with the temples and the cult temples, you can't just right-click on them and say, okay, dedicate to this god. I mean, you can, but it won't be fully dedicated until you have to get a statue. You either have to quarry a statue or you have to import one, and it's going to be like a brick, like a large block of stone. Then you have to have laborers drag it there. You have to have these guys, laborers and an overseer, drag it there. And then you have to have a stone carver go and carve the stone in the image of the god that it's dedicated to. So it's a lot more work, but it provides a much bigger benefit to your people. So it's definitely worth the time and effort to get it done. But yeah, other than that, I mean, like, we'll go into quarrying stone a little bit later. There's not really a whole lot to talk about that on this front right now. I mean, mostly we're just trying to get the basics set up. But yeah, I mean, that should be the basics for worship and healthcare. I don't believe the healthcare doesn't really need any. I mean, it doesn't really need anything other than it needs a priest to run it. I mean, that's basically it. think that should be it. I think next time I'm going to try to get some graduates and get some more basic infrastructure set up in between this episode and the next, so that I can talk about scribes and the benefits that they provide to your city. One last thing I think I want to go ahead and talk about is in the government facilities we have this, and it's specifically for the palace, and it's the Court of Law. And as you see there, it says members of the royal family resolve disputes here, maintaining stability. So what this does is you want to put it somewhere in your noble section, and either the pharaoh or one of his princes, one of his children, will go there and preside over a court of law, and the nobles will come in. And it really only pops up for security, I believe, like only when they have issues with security. So it doesn't really happen a whole lot in the beginning, but we're going to want to get it set up just to have it to kind of head off those issues, because these noblemen are already pissed off enough at us for not having some of the basics like healthcare and things like that set up. So yeah, like I said, that should be it for now. Thank you very much for watching, and join me next episode on Immortal Cities, Children of the Nile.